My name is Aisha Fort, and I will present on cultural humility and leadership. As social workers, we have an obligation to demonstrate cultural humility to our clients, colleagues, and those we supervise. Engaging in cultural humility can help identify goals, increase collaboration, empower each other, better manage conflict, and show an appreciation for diversity. Cultural humility requires understanding oneself on a deeper level. It acknowledges that there are layers of cultural identity, actively challenges power imbalances, seeks institutional accountability, and practices ongoing critical self-reflection. It also acknowledges that working with cultural differences is a lifelong and ongoing process. Cultural humility refers to an orientation towards caring for others and showing an appreciation for others' perspectives and experiences. It also means being open to establishing power balanced relationships with clients and colleagues and reflecting on our own beliefs, values, and biases that impact others. The theory of cultural humility derives from the theory of cultural care and diversity. It is influenced by evidence and a combination of concepts from previous medical, nursing, and education research to an active anti-racist and flexible mindset, focusing on oneself and others and a perspective that all humans hold equal value. The theory of cultural humility intends to guide individuals and institutional and community leaders by creating awareness of diversity, power imbalances, and multiple layers of perspective to embrace conflict positively by participating in lifelong learning about the mindsets, values, experience, and needs of others. The tenets of cultural humility include lifelong self-evaluation, addressing power imbalances with clients and those we manage, developing mutually beneficial and non-paternalistic partnerships, and stewarding an ongoing development process that supports cultural humility to address dysfunctional racial hierarchies and racial inequality. Being culturally humble allows us to better understand how diversity is interwoven into physical, social, and behavioral structures and to gain clarity in approaching diversity and conflict. It will enable us to identify common goals, collaborate, and empower one another to flatten hierarchies and increase appreciation for others. More than 20 years ago, Tervalan and Murray Garcia stressed that culture should not be limited to dimensions like racial or ethnic identity, but should include the culture of the health professional that also requires humility in dealing with patients and colleagues. There is strong evidence for the necessity of humility, servitude, and integrity in leadership. Leaders who practice humility focus more on their subordinates than themselves by showing self-awareness, openness, and transcendence. Humble leaders understand their strengths, weaknesses, and limitations and recognize their dependence on forces outside of themselves. They actively seek out the contributions of others. Servant leaders approach their leadership role to fulfill the organization's and its members' interests rather than maximize their interests. They operate on a motivational basis of serving instead of only leading. Humility is consistent with servant leadership because they possess self-awareness, remain true to themselves, and engage in egalitarian behavior. Research shows the importance of supportive relationships between managers and their employees. Leaders who practice humility are less likely to be competitive with others, avoid disrespectful behavior such as ridiculing, coercing, showing biases and microaggressions, and form more supportive relationships with their employees. Leaders who demonstrate humility are less likely to harm others. They are more likely to support their employees, promote growth, and consider the needs of their employees before making decisions. Additionally, they share power, identify goals that motivate others, and provide resources their employees need to help achieve group goals. Leaders who demonstrate humility are culturally responsive, adaptable to philosophies, practices, and policies, and open to change. Humble leaders stick to their morals and values when challenged and learn about the cultures of others. They intentionally create meaningful bonds with their employees, encourage engagement, and motivate them. Humility in leadership is essential to respect different points of view and challenge personal and institutional biases. Leaders who demonstrate humility engage in crucial conversations from a place of learning and receiving and giving feedback. Leaders must seek to constantly identify areas where cultural humility and inclusion need to be prioritized. Leaders should recognize and validate the experiences of diverse clients and colleagues. Leaders are responsible for creating and supporting multicultural and multiracial cultures to be inclusive and tolerant of all. Practicing empathy and applying diverse, equitable, and inclusive practices in the workplace can help create a culture of humility. As stated in NASW, social workers should demonstrate awareness and cultural humility by engaging in critical self-reflection, understanding their own biases, and engaging in self-correction, recognizing clients as experts of their own culture, committing to lifelong learning, and holding institutions accountable for advancing cultural humility. Cultural humility has two components, intrapersonal and interpersonal. The interpersonal dimension involves social workers developing awareness of the limitations in their ability to understand a client's worldview and cultural background. On an interpersonal level, it takes an other-oriented stance towards clients by being respectful and open to worldviews. Social workers should always embrace diversity and develop a capacity for empowering others. As social workers, we must continue to promote anti-racism by fighting against racism, poverty, and oppression in marginalized communities. We must also fight for equal human rights, healthcare access, child protection, and gender equality for those we serve. As social workers, we must practice humility by committing ourselves to being compassionate, self-aware, and inquiring of others. We must remain open, accepting, and teachable to our clients and colleagues. We must be honorable, accountable, and responsible, practice with integrity, follow ethical codes of conduct, and lead by example. We must seek to proactively change the social environment by advocating for policy changes to increase equitable access for the vulnerable and disadvantaged. We can act by being stewards of advocacy through changing policy and legislation and participating in board memberships to increase visibility of social workers and provide a voice to the populations we serve.